Good morning. Turn that down a little bit more. Welcome to my first Twitch stream, my first programming stream. My name's Brad. I am a software developer by trade. I build mobile apps. Today, I want to build a very small, simple app because regularly I come across on Twitter and wherever else people say things like, join me for my stream at 3 p.m. PST, and I have no idea what that means. So I want to build a quick tool to convert time zones for me. I have no idea how this is going to work. I have some idea how I want it to look. So I'm going to quickly sketch that up. Alrighty. So let's open up Sketch, create a new document. Oh, it's been so long since I've used Sketch. What are these buttons? Components. No, I don't want this. I want an artboard. This one. And iPhone 8 sized. So what I was thinking of, let's blow this up so we can all see it. So what I was thinking of is just having the nav bar up here do its thing. Up here, let's have an add button. And then I want a scroll list in the middle that's going to show all the time zones. So it look like this. You're gonna have multiple of these, yada yada yada. Whoops, I've pasted them all over each other. Cool, cool, cool. And then what I thought might be cool is if I can figure out how to make these pick their color based on the text. Oh, my mouse is all sorts of wonky. So based on the time zone, so each one of these sections is going to be a different time zone. That was the border. Yada, yada, yada. So that way, if anyone sets Melbourne as a time zone, it's always going to be the same color, but we don't need to create that per thing. So this would say something like Melbourne. And then down here, we would have date. So it's going to be like 1/1/2021. And then next to it, time. So let's go 11:00 a.m. And what I thought would be handy is if all of this is in the different boxes. This could be New York. So my idea is create your time zones, and then on any of the boxes, you can hit the date or the time, and it will update the time zone. BDT is one that comes up often. So that's where my thought process is. I have no idea if it's going to work, so let's see how these chip tunes lately are. Very aggressive. That's better. So we want to create a blank Xamarin.Forms app. I think I might call it ZimeTones. ZimeTones? ZimeTones. 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 Yeah. Let's create this. So this is the basic interface of creating an app with Xamarin.Forms. I want to build So for anyone that doesn't know, Xamarin.Forms is a cross-platform mobile framework. So it means we can build iOS and Android app with just the one code base. It's pretty handy. It does have some drawbacks. So what do we want to do? So our main page. Well, let's first build this app. This is just a stock app and see what comes up. Oh my goodness, I was on mute. That's fine. That's fun. Time zones, 400 time zones. Yes, this is what we want. Yes, 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 yes. Cool. So we get time zones. Excellent. Let's just move this break. Let's just comment this out for now because we don't need it. Try this message again. Alrighty then. Keep displaying your message. Cool. So collection view. Excellent. So we want the collection view to display a list of objects. Let's call it a time zone. Let's call it a ZimeTone object. Probably be a view model or something, but I don't write those. I already forgot what this was. So if we just quickly run this, time zone info. So what we want to do is time zone info. I like to keep my private methods with an underscore. So what I can do is when we create one of these, pass in the time zone, and then this is what's going to be essentially displayed to the user. So in our main page, let's just do binding context to this. So that will help us connect the dots between this collection view and the data behind it. All we want is an observable range collection. ZimeTone objects. I got red squigglies because it doesn't know what this is. Did I write it wrong? Observable range collection. Maybe I wrote it wrong, so back to the Google. Interesting. Ah, it's in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So let's drag that in. There's a few things I want to drag in. So what we're going to do is just add some NuGet packages. NuGet packages are sort of like pre-compiled big chunks of other people's code that you can bring into yours to give you all sorts of useful features. Xamarin Community. It's about like that. Xamarin Community Toolkit is a great one. We're going to want that. So let's bring that into all of our projects. Do we have what's installed by default? Xamarin Essentials, Xamarin.Forms. What about on Android? Xamarin Essentials, Xamarin.Forms. Xamarin Essentials, Xamarin.Forms. No worries. I probably would have added a Xamarin Essentials if it wasn't already there, but it's already there. Now we just wait for these packages to be added. Hey. Now, hey look, we got an observable range collection. So what we can do now that we have that is we can go to our collection view and we can say the item source. Let's connect a binding to the ZimeTone object. So what that does is our list says, I don't know what to display. So it looks at the item source and goes, well, there's a list of things. Let's display them. So let's just now, I knew I kept this code for a reason. Bring this into here. So we want to go ZimeTone objects. This needs to be public. It's not public. Our other view can't access it. Add range. Oh, we can't add range. Because this is ZimeTone objects and this is Timezone objects. So what we want to do, we want to get our list of time zones like we did before. And then we want to do a for each loop. So what a for each loop will do is for each item in the list, it will go over this loop one time. So what we want to do here is for each time zone in time zones, which is this list, we want to add to our ZimeTone objects, and we want to add a new ZimeTone object. And if you remember, in the ZimeTone object, it needs a time zone info, which each of the properties in time zones is. So if we just pass time zone, we should now have a list with 400 and something items in it. A list with 0 items in it. I thought it would have displayed them as a string by default, but let's just double check. Let's the background color of this to blue. Okay, so the view's definitely there. Item source, ZimeTone object, finding the main page. Finding context is this. ZimeTone objects is here. As far as I'm aware, that should work. Let's keep going and see if it appears. So something with our collection view is it generally needs a template of how to show. Let's go collection view dot item template. And then I think it's a data template. And then just make it display a label. So this will be another binding. And we'll bind to name. Name doesn't exist yet, so we're going to go create that. So what we're going to do is so what's happening here is for every one of the items in our item sources, it wants to display this. So we're just going to display it as a label at the moment. The text is going to be name. This name is the name of the property on a ZimeTone object, which doesn't exist yet. So let's create it. Public string name. Yep. Let's just create a private backing field. There's probably many other better ways to do this. So what this will do is this will just give us a public property called name, which is this name here. So it will display in a label in our collection view. So now what we want to do is we want to actually set name. Name equals time zone info dot display name. That's handy. So let's see what happens if we rerun this. Look at nothing. Why do we have nothing? Main page. The binding context isn't working. It's going to be something stupid. Something really obviously stupid and simple. ZimeTone objects, observable range collection. Binding context is set to this. This is public. ZimeTone objects. Binding here. It should be alright. Let's just double check what's happening here. First, we're going to see, are we getting time zones? Because that should be a yes. Yes, we have 439 time zones here. So this list should then be looping over each of our time zones. And we create a new ZimeTone object. So then in here, put a breakpoint here. Come into the time zone object. We set that time zone info and we set that name. So why isn't that working? Let's have a look at the Xamarin.Forms collection view. I sit over here where I like to sit. I feel like I'm way off center in the camera. How's that much better? Maybe. So let's go introduction because apparently I'm a newbie. Item source, collection view, item template. Where's your examples at? Collection view, binding, monkey. Actually, do we have any errors? There are all okay ones. I wonder if observable range collection doesn't work for whatever reason. Let's just swap this. So in our main page, just change to an observable collection. Rerun it. Still nothing. Why is it still nothing? Data template. So I'm very confused why this isn't showing. So they generally have good samples. So let's go look at what the Xamarin samples have. Got so much extra stuff in here. Just do a sanity check and clean it and rebuild it. Sometimes things don't update. View, item source. Just wrap this in something that's just going to give it some extra height. Yep, no, it's definitely not showing up anything at all. Yeah. Like, time objects. Main page. Into that. What other options do we have? Vertical options. What if this was just a list view? That convert quickly. Like it. Now this doesn't like to display. Still doesn't work as a list view either. Main page. Let's download this sample. All of the samples. Just gonna do a sanity check that they're even working. While we wait for that to do its thing, let's create a new page. We want a new Xamarin.Forms content page. Call it my test page. Public observable collection. how you spell observable. Observable. My data. Let's bring this in. Set binding context to this. My data. Just notice my camera is like flipped the wrong way, and that's bothering me. Let's see if that's they flipped. I don't think that flipped. Oh well. How's that one? Now my fish is on this side. So when we go back to fish is there. And now when I'm looking this way, I'm sort of looking into the code. Much better. My data add test 1. Test 2. Test 3. And then let's do a same thing here. Collection view. Let's go item source. Finding my data. Now from our app, this is just our main class. Just copy this because we want to restore it. This is my test page, not MTA thread attribute. I do not know what that is. Binding context this. My data. I wonder what happens if we change the binding context to my data and then we just set binding here. Should have the same effect, but if things are not working. Why? I don't understand. It's the same thing though. What? What? No. No. Some's playing funny buggers here. Huh? Wait, was it really just this get and set? Oh my goodness. So if this is true, what? I don't understand. So confused. Oh, it's just worse now. You mean the specified cast is invalid? Is not valid? What? Why can things just not work? This is meant to be a simple little thing. ZimeTone object. Why did it suddenly start erroring? Huh? It's set. Specified cast is not valid. What? Specified cast is not valid. On collection change, notify collection. What are you talking about? Time object. Finding context this. So what part of this doesn't it like? Is it not like the creating? Does it not like us adding it to the list? Adding to the list. Change this back to collection views. That shouldn't change a thing, but I've been wrong in this stream before. Specific cast is invalid. Interesting. All right, so if this is now name, we close this off. Let's get rid of this blue background. We don't need to see that anymore. Oh, look at that. Through the magic of hot reload, it's all here. Excellent. So let's just now to make our list a little clearer. tidy this little bit of code up by putting this in here. Let's just do if timezone dot display name dot starts with Australia. So let's just add the Australian ones just so we have a small little list. Hey, there's the Australian ones. Cool. So now what we can do, I know what I want to bring in. I want to bring in Pancake View. That's not the words. There you go. Google knows what I'm talking about. See, it does night shadows, right? And it does gradients. I wonder how long I was muted for before. Does shadows be supported everywhere? Barely. That's fun. But I do like a good pancake view. Can't change the color. That's fine. So just to double check, how do I set up pancake view? What do I gotta do? Why am I searching that? You simply clone source folder. Yep, don't want to do that. Sometimes Nougat packages, they tell you to put them in all of the projects, and other times they don't. I'm not sure with this one. Let's add it to all. At the end of the day, I don't think anything bad can happen. I do like how you bring in pancake view though, because you're right, yummy. Get rid of that. My code has no organization at all. So I'm going to use this. Just tidy this up. What we want is I like that. So we have to bring in the reference to it so the code knows what it's actually pointed to. I like that the code just can figure that out. And it's like, hey, you wanted me to point to this thing. I know what pancake view is. Can we give margin? Yeah. Can we give border? What of type is border? It's a funky type. Let's just do corner radius 20. Let's give this label a color. Oh, we want the pancake view to have the color. Stopped updating, so let's just stop and start it again. Hey, there's our things. I don't think I want margin. I think I want padding. It's not what I wanted, but we'll go for it. What I actually want was something more like this. So let's just wrap it in a grid. And then let's give the grid the padding of 20. What I want is just to bring them off the wall a bit. That's not correct. Margin. I think it's just. Add margin of 20 here. Add all of the things. Hey. Hey. Here we go. Oh, it's doing something funky. Don't know what that is. Just try 8. That's much more closer to what I wanted. The internal pattern. If I stop and start this, is this going to be broken? That seems fine. Now, starting to get to the good stuff. So I want to actually see what other information time zone info gives us. So let's just put a little breakpoint here. And then we can go into locals and we can inspect time zone info. We got the UTC offset, we got the name, display name, ID, standard name, supports daylight savings, and that's about it. Local. Oh, that would be my local time. Yep. Ooh. So what we do need is we need a central reference of the current time, and then everything else can say, hey, this is the time, let's convert it to my time zone. How do we do that? We could possibly do it in main page. How would it reference everything? I know a very gross way to do it. Very gross indeed. In the app class, which is the global class that everything runs from, if we had date time, let's just call it target time. Let's call this, just go date time dot now. Is this what we want to do? I feel like what we want to do is inside here, we want to bind to a property globally. Let's, this. Right, what about this? Add a local time here. Time zone info. We can't convert time. Where was the convert time? Convert time. Go UTC now. Do time zone info. So local time. This. What I think I might want to do is just make this a getter and setter. It's defaulted to something awful. Let's just go minimum. So if we don't set this properly, we'll know because all of our dates will be way off. On get, let's return local time. On set, we want if local time doesn't equal value. So we want to make sure that we are changing the time zone before we set it. Otherwise, we're going to be updating screens we don't need to. Equals value. So then what I want to do is just add a little helper thingy. I notify property change. So what this will do is we can on property. I expected more things to come in with that. Am I doing this right? Let's quickly go back to just search this repository. How's it doing it? So they do have a on property changed. We don't have a base. Not overriding anything. I think this is how this works. Let's just put all of this behind in a region. We can minimize all that and never see it again. So then what will happen is when we update the local time, if the value we set it to, which is value, is not the same as the value we have, we will then set it, and then we will call on property change, which will say, hey, anything that's referring to local time, you should probably update yourself. We should probably do the same to this field name, but it's not going to be changing, so it should be okay. So let's run this again and let's look at some local times. Oh, that crashed. Did it really crash? Oh yeah, it crashed. Nice, it's not going to tell me why it crashed though. Just see if it's our on property change was crashing. It was our on property changed. So anyway, it was saying 11:29 in Adelaide. Sorry, 11:29. Hey, it's working. If we double check. Adelaide time, 11:29. Boom. So yes, why is Adelaide 30 minutes apart? Behind. Interesting. All right, so I wonder if let's go to the Xamarin Community Toolkit. Let's just search for iNotify. Property changed. like this one. Observable object. You know what? I think I just want a subclass observable object. Yes. And because there is now documents for this that don't show up immediately in Google. Xamarin Community Toolkit. Here is the documentation. The object we want doesn't exist here. That's fine. Can we use it? Yeah, we can use it. It's also, sometimes documentation doesn't exist, so we have to deal with that. So let's look at how they're using it. You just call set property ref of that and job done. So let's subclass this. Yes. And this is what I was saying before about how you bring in a NuGet package, you get a whole bunch of other people's code, and you don't have to do anything. So get gets that, and then set, we just use it like this. I'm going to assume inside it. Can't see that, so let's just go back to it in here. Yeah, so it's doing its own check for if the value is the same, we don't bother updating. So that is amazing. That's what we wanted. What we can also do like my gets and sets to have these curly brackets, even though it's not needed. Regardless, we can update this one now as well because it's nice and easy to do. Boom, done. If local time will get confusing because it's local time to that object and not my local time. Hey, but it's not crashing now. So that's a plus. It's going to move that down there. I have an itchy back. Excuse me for 1 second. Righty. We got a time zone. So now what we want is we want it to be able to display the current times. But before that, I just want to quickly see, really quickly, I want these colors. Oh, wait, do you know what we didn't do? We didn't enable shadows. Oh my goodness. Things on things on things. What's a shadow? I'm going to assume it's not just a true. No. So it's going to be one of these. So we are going to need to look up the docs for this one. How do I use it? How do I use shadows? Drop shadow. Yes. Update for me like magic. Oh. Just get rid of the offset. Let's just put the offset back. I think I don't want it to adjust horizontally. I think I just want the little drop shadow just below it. There we go. Maybe a little closer. Let's go 5. Cool beans. Alrighty, so what I probably want in here now, I have to start laying stuff out. If you remember in the sketch, I wanted time, I wanted location, then I wanted time and date. Or is it date and time? We'll see. But I want this in a grid so I can lay it out properly. So let's go grid. That in. There's a simulator. This red's getting a bit much. We have cornflower blue. Dude. Oh, I like that. So grid is just a view that allows us to lay out things in a grid. You give it a row and a column, and you can have a row span or a column span to make it span across multiple things. So if we go grid.row equals 0, and then we create another one and we set it to grid.row equals 1, they're now different rows. So let me just change this text to text. And you can see the second row now text. Then what we can do is, let's say we want this one to be text 2, but we want it to be the next column along column 1. By default, they're going to be column 0. But what I also want, if I look at this one, if I set this background color to red, you can see it only takes up that little bit. Some names might be longer. Keep getting sidetracked because it's like, I want to make these fonts larger and other stuff. But anyway, so there you can see the text is wrapping because it only fits in that little bit of that one grid and that one row. So what we can do is we can tell the col span, so the number of columns it will span, to be 2. And boom, fix that up for us. Look at that. I am curious what'll happen if we just say binding local time, I think we called it. Oh. I think the calendar month is correct, but the simulator is probably set to some American thing. Yep. So it looks like as well. Is there a dot time? I don't think there's a dot time. No. So as well, it looks like we're gonna have to get some formatters because we want to be able to format this text to have just the date. We don't want the time. The second one is going to be time. Time goes here. So how do we do this? This is a binding converter. Actually, I wonder if Xamarin Essentials already has the binding converter for us. Let's have a look. Xamarin Essentials Community Toolkit. Converters. Daytime offset. It's close. Interesting. No, Nope, that's not what we want. Is it what we want? If it's a datetime offset to a datetime. Yeah, no, it doesn't help us because we are already a datetime. But I do like this. Doesn't help us with our target time problem. But quickly, I want these colors to be pastel colors. Pastel colors. Is there a algorithm to generate aesthetically pleasing colors? You could average the RGB values of random colors, those of a constant color. Oh, interesting. Let us quickly check. Figure.org. Pastel color. Whoops. Whoops. It's console colors. It's not what we want. What if I just search for color? What do we got? jQuery.color. So what we're going to do is go back to this. So this example here is very interesting to me. So let's just, before we do a converter, let's give these things a color. What we're going to do is we want to update the color of the pancake color. So we're going to create a binding. We're going to call it, yeah, sure, we'll just call it color. So then in our ZimeTone object, I'm just going to quickly put this code down so we don't lose it. All right. Color. Not console color. It's going to be a Xamarin.Forms color. Yeah, there we go. I just like to copy paste these, go boop, boop, boop. Done, done, done. Why does it not like to do a color dot something else? That was an interesting one. Oh, because it was probably trying to reference this and not the object color. That's fine. This is okay. So what we're going to do is create a mix color. Create a new random object. Then what we want is int red equals random dot rand dot next. Okay, so it's going to be pretty much the same. Green, blue, We got rid of that. We did that. What is it doing? Divide by 2. Red equals red plus mix. This is pretty much always going to be white. Mix is going to be 255. Yeah, these are going to be doubles now. Get red. So if red's like 128. So we're going to go 128 plus 255 divided by 12. So it is essentially just this. Actually, if we go next double. Because whereas next double already going to be 0 to 1. Probably already going to be 0 to 1. Plus 1.0. Is this going to work? Red, green, blue. It's either going to work great or it's going to give us some funky result. And then they divide by 2. Let's do this. I'm crazy. So instead of divide by 2, I multiply by 0.5. Yep. Is that really all it is? I don't understand how that makes a pastel color. I guess it keeps the red, the green, and the blue sort of between 25 and 75%. I love it. And then if I run it again, we're going to get different colors. So something I want to do with this is for the random, I always want it to be the same random. So Australia/Adelaide will always get the same random. And I think a way we can do that is if we convert the string to a number, because I believe a number takes a seed. So if I put in the seed of 1, I believe all of these random colors should be the same. Yeah. So to have, so seed needs to be an int. An integer, just a regular number, not a decimal place number. Sort of how Minecraft works. So in Minecraft, when you have a huge map that you can generate and you can give someone the seed, and even though the map's randomly generated, they'll have the exact same seed. Pretty cool. IMO. So I don't suppose this has like some sort of global ID. Your ID is a string. There is like a get hash code, and that returns an int. But is it really that simple? Did that change? Let me take a snapshot. It works. Oh my goodness. How do we go from not having a collection view that works to getting some pastel colors generated on our first try? That's crazy. Wow. So I'll just leave a little comment. To use, what I also like to do is when I copy stuff from Stack Overflow, I like to include a reference to the link in my code. So based on Timezone info ID, we get an int and then use it as the random seed. That's really cool. I like that that worked. Alrighty, so let's hide that away. Remove that file off my desktop. We now need that. So now the next thing. What was the next thing? Next thing was converters. A binding converter. The other thing about programming is that people think you need to know a lot and remember a lot, but you don't. I could never write one of these without knowing where to look. And so it's not being able to write one of these on a whiteboard. It's about being able to know what to Google to bring it up. So let's just create a new folder because we're finally going to organize some stuff. Converters. What do we want? We want a date time to date converter. And we want a date time to time converter. Yes. So we want to bring in that it's an iValue converter. It's going to be all like, hey, you didn't implement all of the stuff you said you would. So what we're going to do is say, hey, you bring it in. I'm going to do the same to the other one. Hey, you bring in the interface code for me. All right. I'm going to keep. So what this does is that it takes an input because we've said to something, hey, use the date time to date converter for this. And it will take that input and then we can do whatever stuff we want with it. And then it will output. It can convert backwards where it takes the thing that it was and then converts back to what it originally was. I don't want to deal with converting back because we don't need that. So what we're going to do is keep this not implemented exceptions in here in the convert back, but then in the converts, we want to handle it. So how we want to handle it is if value is date time, we're going to do stuff. Otherwise, we're just going to return an empty string. And I'm just returning empty string to make sure we don't mess anything up later. So what this is doing is that So this is coming in as an object. Oops, that's not the zoom I wanted to use. It's coming in as an object, which means it can be anything. So what we want to say is, hey, if this value thing is of type date time, let's do stuff. So if this is coming in as an integer or as a floating point number, this whole statement here will be false. But if it's a date time object, not only is it going to be into true into our code in here, it's also going to set up this object that we can now just access it. Because we know like a date time has a, say, a day property of it that we can access. However, value, because it's an object, doesn't have a day. It's got almost nothing. But now that the object has been converted to a date time, we can now do date time.day, and we can now access that one. So essentially what we're going to do is to date time. Look up the date time. I want to look at the toString method. Because it should have a thing that we can just say, hey, output as a month format string, and it will just do it. And so that way, if someone is in America, their format string will be right for their region. If someone's in Australia, it'll be our format thing, which is obviously the correct format to use. Culture info. It's not what I wanted. Remarks. It's a lot of remarks. toString. So I believe by default it'll be the system culture that we'll use. Which will be set on your phone. Done format info. Yes. Getting closer. No, this is not. Just looking. Time pattern. Ah, there we go. Yes. Okay. So culture info. That's how we get this. So what we want is culture info.current culture dot format. No, where was daytime format? Daytime format. Long date pattern, short date pattern. Actually, want to go back to that other list I saw because I want to see them all. Here we go. So full date time pattern will output Monday, May 28, 2012. Long date pattern, Monday, May 28th, 2012. Long time pattern, month day pattern. I think we just want short date pattern. I don't think we want to display Monday, May 28th. Because unless you're crossing a time zone, it's always going to be that. So I'm happy with short date pattern. Let's just use that. How do we use that again? Okay. Got you. This makes sense. So normally when you output the date time, you can output as like two capital M's, which will output the month with the leading 0. This is the eighth month. You can use Y, and it'll output the current year. So what you can do is Y, two capital M's, two lowercase d's, and it will output the year as 4 letters, Y, the month as 2 and then the current day as 2 dd. So what the thing we're looking at is the short date pattern is it is actually the whatever your system format will be for a short date. So we want to do date time dot toString, or it already has it here. We don't need this. Let's have a look. We'll try. Okay, so that's our let's test it. Yeah, short pattern equals this, just because we want to see the pattern. Then how to use converters. Can I remember how to use a converter? I think there's like a resource dictionary. I think, let's just bring in, does this need a key or something? I think from memory that's what it is, but it's giving me a lot of red squiggles, so it's probably not this. What does it say? It's not present in the dictionary. Is it name? All right, let's see how close that was. X key. Yeah, I was right. I do like what they did, where they dropped the word. Does that give me red squiggles before? All right, so what we're gonna do. I like how they dropped the word converter off the end of this, because this here is the string we have to use. Converters. So the way it works here is we go converter, static resource, then the name of it, and then we close that out. So if we've done this correctly, on the left column in our grids, it'll just have the month. And look. Now, I'm pretty sure it is displaying the wrong month for me because I prefer my formats in the Australian format. But let us quickly check in our converter. That's very, wait. Yeah, so it's formatting as capital M, so it'll be month with no leading zeros, and then D, so day with no leading zeros, and then Y. So I think in the simulator we can go to settings. Let's just change this to Australia. Change to Australia. 13 region. So you can see here, it'll also format numbers and other things quickly for us. Let's rerun it. So let's just put our breakpoint in here and then have a look at what short pattern is now. So short pattern is now D, so it's just a day with no leading zeros. MM for the current month with leading zeros, and then YYYY for the year with 4 thingies. Yep, so we got the 3rd of the 4th, 2021. Everyone, it's working. Can't believe it. It's working. Can't believe it wasn't working so badly before. So I'm going to assume that the datetime to time converter is going to be very similar, except here we go, to short time string. That was simple. Let's see if it works. We want to copy paste this, convert the date time to date converter to date time to time converter. Give it a new key, because the keys need to be unique. And then we're essentially just going to copy this text line, override our other, that didn't copy, override our other text line. And then, so we're both of these texts are going to be using local time.date, but this one, we want to format it with, or convert it, sorry, with the local time, the date time to time. What I was expecting. Just had to double check that it's not actually right on 12 o'clock. So let's put a breakpoint in here and see what's going on. What is our date time? Allegedly, our date times do not have any time properties. So minute and second are all set to 0. Why would this be? This is an issue here. No, but local time. Oh, I know what I did. Local time. So that's all correct. Let's get rid of that breakpoint. Where are you? Pesky breakpoint. So let that run through. So what happened was in our binding, now XAML of our main page, there we go. We were binding on local time.date. Date by default has no time properties because it's date. Hey, and look, now we have some interesting values showing up. Is it really only 9:39 in Perth? That's crazy. Wow. So in Melbourne, 12:40 p.m. and it is exactly 12:40 p.m. So that's working. That's cool. to be spruced up a bit. What we can do is give a look at font awesome. Let's also look at Xamarin.Forms font awesome. So what you can do with Xamarin.Forms now is you can bring in font awesome and use its glyphs as text. Just start for free. I've already given you my email before. I just want to see the dots. Here we go. We got a stopwatch. Oh, look, there we go. Clock. Boom. So we're going to want that clock icon. Have a look at date. Yeah, calendar. Calendar will work for me. What about we need add. So we're gonna need like a little plus button for add. Yeah, plus that'll work. Alrighty. So how do we get font awesome in? That is the question. So this will map the font awesome characters. So the little funky, I don't know what they were. Not a hex code, but the little icons. So we can actually call them by name. I don't suppose this has a NuGet package. Does it have a NuGet package? I'm going to assume it doesn't have font in the NuGet package, but let's see. That's not what I want. So it looks like it has package it as a NuGet, but it was never packaged as a NuGet. Either way, allegedly all we need to do is get this CS file. I'm trying to get its file name. And then we just want to copy it into our project. So add a new file. And bring all of this gobbledygook in. You see, so now all of these little icons are named Unicode. That's what it is. It's a Unicode character. Wow, it's 20,000 lines. That's a lot of words. So now I need to get the Font Awesome font. Download the Font Awesome yourself. On the desktop. Download Font Awesome free for the desktop. Some metadata. Got some OTFs. We got SVGs. Interesting. Wow, that's handy. I think I only need the regulars. Yeah, so let's go back to, so we got Sebastian's blog here. He says you download the desktop, get the fonts. Remove the spaces. He's adding it to the Android and iOS project, but I'm pretty sure we don't need to do that anymore because Xamarin.Forms can do this magic for us. Yes. Right. Let's create a new folder, resources. Create another folder, fonts. I do like the idea of renaming them to get rid of the spaces. So I do like the idea of dashes. Can Android use... So this is a thing. When you're dealing with cross-platform, you have to remember what things you can do. I don't think Android supports dashes in the file name. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I'm going to use underscores. I probably should have only done this one. Copy that. Let's tell it that it's an embedded resource. And then there's some lines we got to put in our assembly. Oh, I do like how we named those ones. He said to put it in the app, but I like putting it in my assembly file because it's assembly tags and I like them to live in the assembly file. So we want to grab this one. .otf. So an export font awesome. Blah, blah, blah. I'm okay with the FA-R. That's cool. Family FAS. Static resource. How do we use this one we downloaded? Ah, just like that. Okay. So let's name that one that. So this is the Font Awesome regular font. So don't know why I'm taking this whole font out. Just commenting it out so it won't exist in the code. What I probably want to do. Font family. This, because that's what we named it before. And then the text is going to be. I need. Yep, that's right. How do we use this in XAML? Like so. We're going to bring in the font awesome namespace. Is that just going to work? Build it, see if it works. Is it here? Is it ready? Ah! Oh, I love it so much when things just work. This is amazing. Calendar, that's so good. Alrighty, so what can we do with this now? Let us I want to bring this label in. It's gonna make that all topsy-turvy. But labels have a cool thing. A span. How do we do a span? So you could have multiple text in the one label. It's very handy to bind to other things. Once, let me just search the word span. Then we go formatted string inside this one. There we go. Now we have a span. And so we can set things like font family. What we want is this whole thing. So the reason we got to do this is in our app, the calendar icon is all overwritten by the date. And we don't want that because we want to be able to see them both. So one way we can fix this is with a span, which allows us to have multiple little bits of a string all in the one line of text. And they'll just be appended one after the other. So it's not loading at the moment, but that should only have my calendar. So now if we do this one, reload has died, so let's restart it. Hey. That's cool. Does need some spacing though. I don't think they support spacing by default. We can just add a space like that. Again, hot reload. It works and it works and it doesn't when it doesn't. I don't know Spanish, but I feel like I want to say muy buoyante. Is that the word? Or very good? Yeah, so I guess we're gonna repeat this one. We're gonna update this grid and column for our other label. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna work on the time label. Ooh. And then fix this up and then delete this old one. Now this needs to be a clock of some sort. It's an Xbox. It's the Xbox icon. It doesn't work. Ooh, burrito. Ooh. I like this. This is yes. Alrighty, so what I want to be able to do now is when you click either the date or time, you should be able to change the date or the time and then all of the other pages update. So we can do that. I think. So what we want is a label and a gesture recognizer. So we want to add a tap gesture recognizer. We're going to give it a command called change date command. Oh, this one should be change time command. And then the other one should have a change date command. Now these commands, so where are we in? We're in the ZimeTone object. So it needs to be here. I don't like it in here. We can probably do it without a command if we use a clicked. I think it just went and created this method somewhere for us to do it on main page. It did. So this is a change date recognizer tab. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between using a command and a event. It's probably better for testing and other stuff if you use a command. Why don't you work? Yeah. So what we can do is display alert. And let's just display an alert of date clicked. Okay. Yucky async voids. So what we're going to do is just add async. So now we can just wait, display alert. One will display date clicked and one will display time clicked. A date clicked, a time clicked. It works. Actually, just looking at that, I think I want to do just add a row spacing of like 10. With that little bit of extra spacing. I think that looks a lot better like that. I do wonder if, so it's just as well looking at the names. It's got Australia/Adelaide. I wonder if Australia, like if they have names, is it always country/city? And if so, should we update this? both of these are going to be strings. One's going to be country. Can't be a color, so it's a string.empty. Update this, update this. Country. This is going to be a location. I don't know if there's specifically a city. So then what we can do in here is, instead of name, yeah, this whole name one, we can just delete this now, I think. Instead of name, we're going to have country and location. Actually, well, let's do this. For display name, let's split it on a / character. Let's call it Timezone name parts. So what we're going to do is, now we got two parts. We got the first part and the second part. But I'm pretty sure the parts aren't always just two. So what I want to do is, let's just say we grab the first one and the last one. And something else I noticed, see how Broken Hill has an underscore? Let's also replace underscores with spaces. So I'm going to call first.default. And then for location, I'm going to call last.default. So last.default, it'll either return the value or a null. I don't want null, so let's just always make it string.empty if it is null. And then additionally, let's wrap this in here, dot replace, let's replace underscores with empty space. Now we are bound to location somewhere. Name, no, name is what we removed. Here we go. So now instead of name, let's use location. And let's see if that just magically works. Arm is incredibly sore. Oh. Do you know what'd be really cool? Is if the little tiny clocks showed the actual real time. It's a lot of for no gain at all, but I kind of want to do it. But anyway, so this is looking good. I like it. All right, so let's work on how can we change. Yeah, we want to be able to change the date and the time when we click. I'm pretty sure Xamarin has a date picker. Yeah. It has a time picker. Oh, but you know what? I know a really nice way to pick time. Oh, these aren't what I thought they were. Yeah. So what these would be is these are going to be like little text boxes, and when you click them, then you get a date or a time picker. Do you know what? Someone the other day was talking about a Xamarin. Let's try that again. Calendar. It's on GitHub. Who was it? I don't remember who said it, so let's just see how these look. Oh, that looks really nice. There's a lot of extra stuff we don't need, but it looks really nice. Do the other calendars look like? I see what they're going for. This was also not updated in the last 3 years. When was this one updated last? 19 hours ago. Cool, cool, cool. What about this one? If you don't have samples, I don't want to try it. Yeah, so many people go for this style of like an actual full calendar. That's not what I'm after. But the other thing I'm thinking of is that, oh, now I look at these, I don't like this month picker that they got going on. Did I favorite it? Where are my favorited things? Is that how this works? Maybe I didn't start it. Dang. Alrighty, so okay, so we can do a more of an advanced implementation. Range implementation. Events mine. Event collection. Yeah, no, I don't want events. I just want to be able to pick a day. I think this could be the one. Calendar footer, calendar header. Yeah. Then what are we going to do for a time picker? I do kind of have my own idea for a time picker. It's almost like this, but it's not. But I do kind of also like that. That's really cool. Where is this time picker coming from? It's really the Android time picker. Yeah, they're doing all this other stuff. Like this is just an Android native, so it's not really the thing. But the other issue is iOS. It's a time picker element, which I guess is okay. I mean, like let's. This is how a time picker works. So then you get the native time picker on the bottom, but it's just styled so, I don't know, boring. But this down here is the display that I want. But do you know what we need to do? We need to see how this displays on Android. So far, I think everything should be working. Yeah, the fonts are a little bit small by default. But other than that, our shadows are working, our colors working. Yeah, I kind of do like this a lot. Whoa. I mean, we could build this. Yeah, I do like that. All right, let's have a look at the date picker. See what you got for that, Mr. Android. Yeah, that's pretty much what I expect. What about iOS? What do you got for time picker? See, the problem with these things is that they're a property, like they're an element on the view, which I mean, maybe. What we can also do is this. Grab this date picker. We move it out of here. Create a grid. So everything inside a page, you can only have one thing inside the page. So previously it was a collection view, but now it's a grid. So this means what we can do now is we can just put our date picker in here. And we can probably put a time picker in here. If they are visible, they should show up in the top left. They probably won't because they're underneath the collection view, right? Or all my stuff just isn't updating. Let's see. Yeah, like I think they're there. Let's just try it again. I'm gonna put them here. Yeah. They just take up the entire screen. So if we set them to false, so they're not visible, should disappear. They should disappear. Yeah, so they're not here, but they're still here. So I wonder what happens if I date picker element. If I give them a name, let's call it a secret date picker. And then when we, instead of displaying the little date clicked, what if we put the cursor inside of this secret date picker? So if I did, okay, is that a thing I can do? Will it affect the scroll? I am a magician. That's really funny. That is... Oh, I love it so much. Oh, it's gross, but I love it. I'm sure we can do better, but like this is going to work for now. But what we do need to do is have it set to the current time. But what I can see here is at sender. So let me just breakpoint in here. So what we want is to be able to see the thing that we're bound to. From here, we can see that the sender is of type label. And this makes sense because the click event that we have is on the label. So then what properties can we fetch from the label? Can we fetch the binding property? Is that a thing? So if sender is label, there is a binding context. I don't think the binding context will be what we want. Because I'm pretty sure the binding context is going to be something. So what we can do is if the sender is label and the label binding context isn't null, well, actually what we can say is if it is a ZimeTone object, ZimeTone, ZimeTone, then from this we can go secret time picker. Time. What the time span? Time of day going to be a time span. So I think what will happen is when we click, we're going to go, hey, is this into a label? If yes, it's this thing called a label now. If the label has a binding context, that's a ZimeTone object, we're going to set it as a ZimeTone variable. Then we want to set the secret time picker time property to that of the ZimeTone. And then we're going to present it with the dot focus. So let's see if it works. 12:51. Ooh, look at this. So now what we also want to do is we want to hit when these change. Interesting. What is it? How do you know when the user has just like hit return? Interesting. Let's go have a look at the docs for this one. It's not font awesome. We can get rid of all the font awesome things. Get rid of calendar view. We want Xamarin and state. Date selected event. Wait for the time picker. All right, so that's our time picker doesn't have it, but we want to get the property changed event. Secret time picker property changed. And then, yeah, this is going to be funky. So let's just first see what properties come out. So, where is our application output? That's this one. Let's just pin this so we can see it. So when we click these, the time, a whole bunch of events are going to fire. So what events do we have fire? We have time, we have is focused, and then we had some warnings. They're fine. We can ignore them. What happens when we change? We get time fired. Cool. So now what we want to do is to match this so we can update our things. So if eat property name is the same as time picker dot time property dot property name, yes. Now interesting. I wonder if the time that comes out of this end has the time zone in it, or is it going to be in my local time? I think it'll have the time zone in it. So let's click Adelaide. 12:56. Yes. It doesn't actually contain the time zone. Interesting. All right, so we're going to come back to those ones. But what we're going to want is boot this up. The user hits the date, they'll get a calendar, and when they change the date, all of them will update. And then when the user hits the time and they change the time, all of them will update. That bit might be a little bit more complicated than I first thought. But let's just add one more thing before we finish off for the day. Let's add the toolbar item to add new. Interesting. How do I set a custom font for a toolbar item? So toolbar item, if I just rerun my code, you'll see there's this little tiny plus button up here on the top right. Very interesting. Oh, we got icon image source. How can we use a glyph? That was actually coming up before. Yes. Item, icon image source. Okay. So what we would want is a new font image. And we want font family to be something, and then we want glyph to be font awesome dot create plus. I think it was just called plus. So then where were we using the pluses? It was in here. Font awesome regular is the family. Is that all we needed to do? Didn't work. Let's just try calendar in here. Just in case something else is broken. Okay. So our plus just mustn't be in the regular font. Awesome. It looks like it's in the solid. Uploading to Death Star plan. Yeah, it's only in the solid. Okay. So now what we need to do is to, add existing font, bring in the solid, get its name, add it to the assembly info. And then we just want to change this one be solid. And then this should be plus. So close. Silly Bradley. Didn't set the new font to an embedded resource. If you don't embed the font, how can you load it? Plus octagon. Oh, and that just regular plus. We'll just easy. It's a bit large. Bit small. Yeah, looks nice. Cool. Well, that's step one done. We are coming up on 3 hours, so let us begin to bring this to an end. Ready. So we have this, we have that. Do you know what we need? We need a Git repository. It's called ZimeTones. ZimeTones. Sure, add the readme for me and add a git ignore. All right, keep your secrets. Just create a repository. Now what we want to do is source tree is my repository Git management tool of choices. Words are difficult. There's ZimeTones. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clone that Git down. I'm going to open up the location of my folder. Close Visual Studio. And I know you're hiding there, Visual Studio, so I'm going to close you for good. And I want to copy. Let's just rename this to source. Source. That's how we write source. And put it in the ZimeTones folder. Now, source tree has told me that there is 2,828 things to commit. I'm pretty sure it's not that many. Let's have a look. Yeah, this .vs folder, that's not a thing. So let's ignore everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to start ignoring stuff. I'm going to ignore every .vs folder. Well, this particular .vs folder. That's ignored. What else? So here we go. This bin directory. We don't want it. It's gone. Get in the bin. That's not the joke I wanted to make. Obsh, you get in the bin as well. Boom. So already we are now down to 496 files. Still seems like a lot. iOS here has been an obj directory still. So it's all your... No, I messed up. I didn't mess up too bad, but I did mess up a little bit. I'll show you where I messed up. This drop down for this repository only or the global ignore list, it was on global ignore list by default. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's try fix that. Let's open up our global git ignore. Let's fix this up. Because there's nothing worse than having some code having like your Git repository set up using globals. Someone checks out your code and now these things aren't getting ignored. So now when they try to commit a change, there's now 2,000 files changed. We don't want that. So we're going to open up this other git ignore. Increase the font size because I am blind. So it's ignored this folder specifically, but let's be honest. There's probably no bin and obj directory we ever want included in. So let's just do that. That didn't work. I don't think it needs the asterisks. All right, we're down to 66 files. Does this... I notice here there's a .ds store file. Let's ignore all .ds store files. We're down to 65, so we made progress there. There's this .vs folder again. So .vs. We're down to 61. Just have a final scan. I think 61 is it. Yeah, these all look like the files we want to keep. So let's commit it to our Git. This isn't how I'm used to seeing Git. That one. So this is initial Commit of ZimeTones app developed on stream. On stream. Stream. There. So now let's push that up. And now if everything went good, now ZimeTones, all of our code is now here. So now anyone can come along and download ZimeTones and join in the fun. Oh, good golly. So one last thing I'll want to do. You know what bothers me on a Mac? When you hit the close button, it doesn't necessarily close the app. Oh, you got to come down here and quit it. Which is a sketch. Just close. You don't want to save that. Did you close? Still open? See you there. Close this on. Nope. Quit you. Quit you. Quit you. Quit you. So one more thing. Just like an Apple presentation. Just one more thing. This old ZimeTones folder is there, but obviously it no longer exists because we put it in a different folder now. Now in Git, ZimeTones, source, and then this one. Now this will open up. It'll do its thing. If I close it, I now have ZimeTones written twice, so I'm going to remove this one. Oh, don't keep it. Remove. Cool. Now next time we open up Visual Studio, we only have one ZimeTones folder to open. We stretch this out. I have an outro. We've been running for 2 hours, 58 minutes, 35 seconds. Almost 3 hours. Good golly.